All right, thank you for tuning in with us. You just, before the commercial break, you got a chance to meet Barbara Campbell and Steve Perkins. Now what we're going to do is get right into our discussion. And the first thing that I want to discuss is, even though we're a week away for the deadline for registration, how can we push those individuals who are still like straggling along and have not went to one of the places they can go to register? How can we encourage them to push them to go ahead and get there and get registered?
Well, I would just say, elections are decided by those who don't show up. We need to get out the vote in record numbers in Georgia and across the country to make sure that this president is reelected. And everybody has an obligation there to step up and do what's necessary. And if that's re-upping your registration or modifying it because you've moved, or if you haven't registered before, now is the time. This week, this is your deadline.
Are we finding that it's more young people that are not registering, or is it more of the older generation like myself?
I think the registration is key, but for the number of persons that we had registered in the last election, if they had voted, we would have been successful.
Yeah.
We've got enough people registered. I will not encourage more people to register to vote, but the turnout is the key. And I think the fact that Modern is now registering voters at the Modern station, that's ideal. We've got 7 precincts right here in DeKalb County where we're going to be registering voters, but I think also sending a message to voters as to why they should vote. And we've got 12 issues on our platform for the National Democratic Party, but I would just lift up 4. The first being jobs. The president is really working to get people working. So if you have an interest that's going to directly tie into your life and your lifestyle, that is a motivation to go out and vote. So we're talking about jobs, we're talking about education, we're talking about health care. Those are 3 major issues that are on most people's mind right now. So I think just getting the message out. This Saturday will be in Decatur on the square.
Okay.
Women supporting President Obama. And there's no way somebody, even if they're not on the square, they're going to drive by and see our signs, hear our message. The way you're doing it today, just word of mouth, to just keep encouraging people. I'm encouraging every church to put on their marquee, deadline for voting, October 9th. Early voting starts today. That's a free advertisement, nonpartisan, just turning people out to vote. So I think before we had the young generation, they really worked with the older generation. And I was just in Washington last week for the Congressional Black Caucus.
Okay.
A lot of your age and younger. So motivated.
Speaking of the Black Caucus, I wanted to mention that. I wanted to talk to you about that, to give us a little bit of insight on that since you were there, about how did that go?
I think it was it's always wonderful. This year I think they had some very similar to our Democratic convention, the speakers, which is excellent. But I think the brain trust is what they generally call their sessions there. They were really excellent. And we were talking about social media. And what you're doing today with social media is the way to reach young people. And we've got a lot of adults now who are just engaged in social media. So the way we used to do it has changed considerably. So this Facebook, the Twitter, the following, just keep communicating, getting the message out. Also, I think when we had the speakers there, they had an ecumenical group talking about how the church can be politically involved and not affect the 501c3. That's your largest congregation every week. Other than the schools, the next largest congregation will be your churches. And on that note about the schools, Georgia has a code that says in April, every student should be afforded the opportunity to register to vote, and they will be voting age by November.
And what is that age?
17 and a half, but the voting age is 18. So if they turn 17 and a half in April and they're eligible to vote, so we're going to still be targeting schools. We started back in the spring, and we're going to be hitting the schools this week, making sure that population is registered to vote.
Sounds good. We're going to go ahead and take another commercial break, but Steve, when we come back, we want you to give us a little bit more insight on this new Georgia, is it Georgia Blue Committee that you're part of?
Right.
Give us a little background information on that. We'll be right back.
Okay.